Hey, GenXers. You spent decades playing the game, learning the systems, and getting promotions. But now, you're starting to question the whole thing. That job title you worked so hard for no longer fits. But when you try to peel it back, you wonder, who's under there? If you're starting to feel like the mismatch between who you are and the role you're performing at work, you're not alone. You're a GenXer, which means you've been at this career thing for decades. Of course, you're still showing up, but you're not excited about it. And when you try to imagine what's next, all you see is a blank page. Or worse, another job with a different logo and the same nonsense. You're not lost. You're just bumping up against the edge of a borrowed identity. The one that got you here, but isn't taking you further. Let's talk about what happens when that persona takes over and what begins to return when you finally start setting it down. This is Burn the Map, the podcast for Gen Xers dying to leave corporate and build something of their own. I'm Shelley McIntyre, a certified coach with decades of experience in corporate strategy and tech. I help midlife professionals ditch outdated roles and design a third act that actually fits. Subscribe so you don't miss an episode. Let's get into it. In my late 40s, I was a strategy consultant with a solid career behind me. I enjoyed the status, the paycheck, and working with brilliant people. But the projects that used to excite me lost their shine, and my work quality started to slip. I was getting antsy and losing touch with who I was under it all. Sound familiar? You play this role so perfectly you don't even notice it. You can walk into a room, scan for problems, and become the solution to all of them. You're the one who smooths things over, keeps everyone calm, gets things done. These roles are useful, but they can also become masks. This is a common trap for Gen Xers. We got rewarded for our reliability, how we could manage perception. It helped us move ahead, but it also made it harder to connect with what actually brings us joy. And slowly, that distance can harden into numbness. It doesn't announce itself, it creeps in. You still show up, still meet your deadlines, still run the meetings, but you're skimming the surface. When you wear the role too long, you don't just get tired, you get disconnected from your people, your gut, your joy. And over time, it becomes harder to remember what was you and what was just the role. You didn't wake up one day and decide to become a corporate warrior. You became that person in response to a system. You learned the rules of the game and you crushed it. The skills you developed helped you grow and have fun until it wasn't fun anymore. You look at yourself in the mirror and think, it's weird that no one has figured out that I don't belong here at all. That's the voice of your true identity calling for attention. If your identity has gotten tangled in your title, you're not imagining it. It's not a failure. It's just the result of years of success in environments that reward performance over presence. But identity isn't something you find once. It's something you return to. It's a muscle you reawaken, especially after years of shrinking yourself to fit the role. Because when you adapt so well to the performance required by your job, you don't just lose clarity, you lose access to your emotional range. The parts of you that you had to tamp down at work, humor, weirdness, desire, even restlessness, they start to go quiet. And with them, your instincts do too. So maybe the better question is, what have you lost touch with, and what's ready to come back? Let's get some more colors back into your box of crayons. You were never just a list of job duties. You were always more, and you still are. This is great news. It means you don't have to keep performing the role that got you here. Even if you've gone a little numb, even if you've forgotten what provokes your curiosity and interest, it's not gone. It's just waiting to be noticed again. This podcast isn't about quitting your job tomorrow or getting a new one that looks eerily similar. It's about reconnecting with what's true so that when you do take a leap, it's from solid ground. You're still in there, and you can return to the driver's seat. But how do you start? How do you take off the mask that you've worn for so long without feeling like you're losing yourself in the process? It starts by noticing the gap between how you perform and how you feel. You may be doing your job with the smoothness of a robot from Gattaca, sleek, efficient, and unbothered. But if you feel emotionally dead while you're doing it, that is something to pay attention to. What actually energizes you? What drains you? What would you keep doing even if you got no recognition and no rewards? One eye-opening practice is to pay attention to everything you do for a couple of weeks and rank each thing on the energizing, draining scale. Don't be surprised if it shows you some relationships or activities that need adjusting. Another powerful way to reconnect with yourself is through values work. Not the corporate kind, the kind that asks, what really matters to you now? What do you want your time and energy to actually reflect? Start with a simple question. When do you feel most like yourself? Is it when you're joking around with your family, when you're volunteering, making art? And what is it about doing that thing that is most important to you? What's the quality below that activity that makes it worthwhile? The answer usually points toward a value. It might be creativity, loyalty, independence, integrity. When I did that inquiry, one value I discovered was connection. While I was doing plenty of connecting in my day job, the scale was off. My work was designed to impact thousands of people, but I craved more individual connections. So I got curious about where important personal conversations were happening and started hearing about innovators in the end-of-life space. I took on a research side project to learn more. It might sound like a left turn from consulting, but it was a direct reflection of the values that were important to me. Meeting people in that community helped me remember who I was when I wasn't performing, and I wanted more of that. Once you start naming what matters, you begin to see where it's present and where it's missing. Values aren't just pretty adjectives, they're ways of living. You can recognize them not by what you say you care about, but by how you spend your time, how you make decisions, and how you feel at the end of the day. When a value like creativity or connection is missing, it can show up in your heart, mind, and facial expressions as dullness, avoidance, even resentment. If your side eye has become a full-time facial feature, it might be time to check your values. And the misalignment is not always about work. If your job is a mismatch, but your relationships, hobbies, or routines are too, those disconnections add up. The goal isn't to overhaul everything. It's to start aligning in small ways. You still have laundry, caregiving, and those 14 text messages you haven't replied to. But you get to decide how you want your values to show up just a little more in the margins. Maybe you can lead with values as you respond to a friend, choose what to read next, or decide how you'll spend the first 20 minutes of your day. You already have great pattern recognition skills, and now you can direct them to your own life. Once you start acting in alignment with your values, the mask will start to melt. You'll come into closer contact with the true you below the corporate warrior persona. This isn't about blowing up your life. It's about burning the outdated map and remembering that the path was always yours to create. You've reclaimed the pen. Now you can draw something that looks more like you. Burn the map. Build what fits. Thanks for listening to Burn the Map. GenXer, you already have what you need to build a life that feels like yours. Want more tools and insights? Head to burnthemapcoaching.com. And if this episode sparked something, send it to a friend. It might be exactly what they need to hear.